well then, I don't want it. You can have it back. Okay, that was me. I don't usually spend my evenings watching old videos of myself, but what I have been watching in the evening with Stefan are a lot of American TV shows dubbed into German. And when I tell Germans that I actually quite enjoy a lot of American TV shows in German, the responses that I get are often like, what? Why? German dubbing is awful. I really don't think it is. I think that German dubbing sounds, for one, pretty great. There's not a lot of echo, and the words usually line up pretty well with the moving mouths. Like, I think German dubbing is top notch. Watching TV shows when it's supposed to be like humorous can sometimes be a problem. I'll get into some stuff with that later with jokes and stuff. But as far as watching dramas, it's pretty great. But there are some things that I have noticed from watching American TV shows dubbed into German. Ah yes, okay, getting right into it with dramas versus comedy. Some of the TV shows that I have watched dubbed into German include Bones, Elementary, The Big Bang Theory, Gilmore Girls, and I tried watching How I Met Your Mother, and I also tried watching a little bit of Psych in German. Both Psych and How I Met Your Mother are more like comedic shows, and for me, both of those shows just didn't really work in German. And I'm not sure if it's because I didn't get the jokes as they were in German. I don't know if it was like a me thing, or if the jokes didn't work in German. Because especially like with How I Met Your Mother, a lot of the jokes, if I remember correctly, I have seen the show in English, there's a lot of like puns, a lot of wordplay in the jokes. I'm not a translator, but I can imagine that that could be pretty hard to translate wordplay puns into German. Something else that I've noticed that can make dubbing an American show into German a little tricky is when there is one German word for two English words. So, for example, when and if in English can often be just wenn in German. Wenn ich zu Hause bin, when I am at home. Wenn ich du wäre, if I were you. And this can just sometimes mean that the German version of the show comes across like a little clunky, or it doesn't really make sense. For example, in Bones, there was an exchange where Booth and Bones were talking to each other, and Booth must have said in English something like, if I die, blah, 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 because then Bones came back with, you know, that it's not if you die, like, well, of course you're gonna die one day. But in German, it didn't really work because Booth said like, wenn ich sterbe, blah, blah, blah. And then Bones, again, in German was like, well, of course you're gonna die. You know, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when, but because in German, if and when can both be wenn, it just didn't work. It was just kind of a clunky exchange, and I was taken out of the moment and reminded like, oh yeah, okay, this is not a German show. Sometimes in shows or in movies, what happens if in the original English language version of the show, the characters were kind of making fun of Germans, or Germans were the butt of the joke? How does that work when it is now translated into German? It would be really weird if the characters were standing around speaking German, but like making fun of Germans as though they weren't German themselves while speaking German. Not a TV show, but a movie. I noticed that in Super Troopers, in the English version, they're kind of making fun of some people that are driving fast in their car on the Autobahn, and those people are German in the English version, and in the German version of the movie, the people are Dutch. So in that instance, they decided to change where the people were from in the German version of the movie. And that kind of ties in to one of the next things that I've noticed. Sometimes it's not just that the American shows are dubbed into German and like everything is left the same in the show, except it's just in a different language. No, I have noticed that sometimes they change things in the show so that it would make more sense to a German audience. It's not just the language, it's the culture. You have to sometimes understand the culture to understand the show. So, for example, Psych uses a lot of cultural references. So I can imagine that that could be hard to translate into German. How much do you change of the show so that a German audience would understand it? How much of the original show do you leave knowing that Germans might not get it? Sometimes they just have to change some stuff in there because a German-speaking audience probably wouldn't get it. Sometimes when watching American shows in German, just for fun, I have also turned on the English subtitles. So now I am watching an American TV show dubbed into German, but with English subtitles. And of course, the English subtitles line up with what the characters would be saying in English. And so that's how sometimes I can see, okay, the joke in English or the pop culture reference in English was completely different from what the character said in German. Popcorn break. Stefan, would you like some popcorn? Okay, so now while Stefan crunches on the side, sometimes it feels a little strange for me when I'm watching an American TV show. Like it's in America. It looks very American. Like there's a scene in an American diner and the people are dressed in what looks to me like typically American clothes. Like, you know, American suits look different from German suits and stuff. And they're talking about whatever, the American food or free refills or American football. And yet they are speaking 100% fluent German without an American accent or anything like that. Sometimes it feels kind of strange, like a completely different world. Like, where is this world out there that looks like America but sounds like Germany? Something else that I've noticed is with accents. Sometimes in an American show or movie, someone has a particular accent when speaking English, and then what happens to that accent when the show gets dubbed into German? I noticed at least one example of when the accent just kind of disappeared. It didn't get dubbed into the German version, and that's in Bones, where there's a character, Dr. Nigel Murray. I was watching the German version, and he was talking in German, and he sounded basically the same as the other characters. I didn't notice any distinct accent, and so, I just didn't think anything of it until I noticed in one episode, he specifically said something about a cup of tea. Oh, wait a second. Tea is not like a typically American thing. That's a typically British thing. Is he supposed to be British? Stefan and I quickly flipped over to the English version of the show, and sure enough, he has a British accent. And I was like, aha, okay, so that was like a joke in the American show, you know, a joke or like some reference to how he drinks tea. But in the German version, because he didn't have an accent, it didn't really work. Yeah, in America, tea's not, I mean, of course people drink tea, but it's not a thing like it is in Britain. And so, yeah, in this case, the accent was necessary for the joke to be a joke. What about with Elementary? Of course, in the American show, Holmes is British. He has a British accent. In the German dubbed version of the show, there's no accent, right, Stefan? I didn't notice an accent. Also, going along with this accent thing, in the movie The Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, he speaks German fluently, and in the American movie, like, he was in there, but then when they had the dubbed version of that movie, he was not the voice of his own character. Are there any times when German actors or actresses that are in an American movie dub their own voice in the German version? Let me know down in the comments. Another thing that I noticed, this is a very specific thing. In English, we have the phrase a lemon to refer to a car that has some issues. In German, as far as I knew it, this would be a Montagsauto. Literally literally a Monday car. But in one show, I noticed the characters in German referring to a lemon as a Gurke, which I had never heard this before. Let me know down in the comments, can a lemon car be referred to as a Gurke? Or did they just pick this because Montagsauto was too long and it didn't really fit with the characters' mouths moving? I don't know. And the last thing for this video that I've noticed is what characters do if they are reading something, like if they're looking at a newspaper article where the English-speaking viewer would be able to read the title of the newspaper article. I've noticed that sometimes in the German dubbed version, there will be on the screen written a translation of what that title says. Or another technique that I've noticed is sometimes the character will read aloud the newspaper title. So if the shot is being shot over the character's shoulder so that you just see the newspaper, you will sometimes hear the character's voice read the newspaper title in German. So my question for you is, do you like watching TV shows dubbed into other languages? Do you like popcorn? And if so, are you team salty popcorn or team sweet popcorn? Please let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and ring the notification bell so that you can find out when I put a new video out. And a really, really, really big thank you so much to our patrons who support us on Patreon and help make these videos possible. Thank you so much for your support. Until next time, auf Wiedersehen!